Fuck you. If you play video games, you've no doubt seen a box before, and many video games just come in the standard plastic case, or, you know, back in the day, a lot of cardboard boxes and whatnot. But some video games come in these big special boxes. And you may think that I love this kind of junk. I mean, look at me. Everybody's like, oh, look at Scott and his box-using grin. And that's the thing. Having cool special edition boxes, or even if the game just comes standard with like a cool box like this, you know, it's just like, oh man, you know, it's just this cool texture, even though this one doesn't necessarily have a texture, but, you know, it's shiny, it's nice, it gives you something substantial to hold, and it kind of makes the entire experience feel a little more special. I get that, and I do like it. However, some of these boxes are just excessive. I like functionality in my boxes. I like the box existing for a reason, or something, you know, with the packaging being there for a reason. If you're gonna go all out, you need to have a reason for it. And if there's an easier way to go about it, and it's not via just a big clunky box, then I don't want it. I want everything to be a little more functional and be a little more resourceful overall. So I just kind of wanted to take a moment to discuss some packaging that just kind of irritates me with how unfunctional it really is. With just one company being the main reason why I want to bitch today. But weirdly enough, I didn't necessarily plan this. It just so happened that a lot of the examples that I had came from the Wii U. But this one is an easy one to talk about. It's Star Fox Zero. So Star Fox Zero, at least in North America, came bundled with Star Fox Guard, which was kind of its companion title. You know, it had the same developer, it had the same, you know, assets, it was developed at the same time. They were like, hey, with Star Fox Zero, you get a bonus game, Star Fox Guard. I personally thought it was weird that it's its own separate game. I thought it would have made a lot more sense as its own mode within Star Fox Zero. Like, you play Star Fox Zero, you press start, and then on the menu screen, you have an option where it says, hey, guard mode, and, you know, it's an entirely separate mode in the game, because Star Fox Guard is a bit of kind of a, you know, it's kind of like a, oh, I feel like playing this for 10 minutes, you play for 10 minutes, and then you're like, alright, I'm good, and then you go and do something else. So I thought this would have worked perfectly as a separate mode within Star Fox Zero, because Star Fox Zero on its own isn't the meatiest game. You know, you don't have a ton of content in that game. It's, you know, it's a short game like most Star Fox games, and, you know, you can go through it and play for high scores and whatnot, but I kind of felt like it would have been very, it just would have made a lot of sense if, you know, you're done with Star Fox Zero for the day, you're tired of it, like most human beings are, and then you go into the main menu, and then you're like, you know what, why not? Let's play some Star Fox Guard. I think it would have been perfect for that, but it's its own separate game and its own separate case. Oh well. But I just feel like, why? Why is it in its own separate case? You'd think I would have loved that, but it's one thing where I'm just kind of like, alright, that's kind of cool that it, you know, it's its own game and its own case, but, you know, it is a fairly smaller game, and I feel like if you're gonna release it at all, I would have loved if it was just included on the same disc as Star Fox Zero, but at the very least, I think it would have made a lot more sense if it was just in the same, like, case as Star Fox Zero. You just had two disc flaps, kind of like what they did with Bayonetta 1 and 2 on the Wii U and here in North America. Like, why didn't they do that? And I feel like it's so then Star Fox Zero kind of came in this bigger box, so then that was kind of a marketing stunt to just kind of make it a little more like, hey, look at that, you know, like the game is bigger, buy it. It is kind of cool, you know, it's a cool box to get here, but obviously you didn't have to do it in this way. You know, it's just kind of more of a nuisance this way. You know, you have this thing, you have two cases to take care of. At places like Best Buy or something, they had to put this in like a special plastic case because the games at Best Buy come in plastic cases. So they had to get a bigger one just for this game. Not the biggest deal, but this is kind of what I'm talking about, where it's just like, why did you have to put this in such a bigger box? Is it really that necessary? Just a couple months before Star Fox Zero, Nintendo released Super Mario Maker for the Wii U, and this one came with an idea book included. So it came in a bigger box. But the idea book was a pretty cool addition, though I don't really think it was as functional as Nintendo wanted it to be, or as I I wanted it to be, because, you know, you're going through it, and it's a very nice booklet. You have, like, all this different art that's like, oh, this is really cool. But just as an example, I just wish there was more functionality to this book, because as it is, it just kind of feels like a bunch of random Mario art. I understand that, like, oh, you know, you look at this and you might become inspired, where you know, you look at this and it's just like, oh, wow, you know, like, maybe I could do an entire level based on crouching and, you know, kind of like trying to get through the level in the crouching state. Or like, oh, man, you know, what if I have a bunch of fish in this stage? Cheap. You know, something along those lines. But there's very little text in this book. It's very minimalistic and visual base. You know, it's just kind of a bunch of screenshots, and I wish it was kind of focused a little more on maybe just like a bit more text, just explaining like, hey, here are some level design tips. Instead, they kind of just show you random little things here and there, where it's just like, all right, you know, maybe you get an idea from this page, but, you know, it's kind of a, you know, it's not guaranteed you're gonna get an idea from it. I really wish they would have gone a little harder with the concept art kind of here, because right here they have Mario Maker concept art, which is awesome. You very rarely see a ton of Nintendo concept art, especially in like books included with the game here. And then, you know, near the end they even have concept art for the original Super Mario Brothers, which that, you know, I would have loved an entire book of just this. You know, like, this is a true, like, encompassing of the idea of an idea book, showing the ideas behind the original Super Mario Brothers. This is great, but instead, most of the book is just stuff like this. And what am I supposed to gain from this? So I'm happy this was included, though. I just feel like it was kind of like, I don't know, like, you flip through it once and then that's it. But I just find it very odd that they included this book, and because of that, they had to put it in its own special cardboard box that's slightly bigger than a Wii U game case. So they couldn't ship the game. I never saw this game in North America without this cardboard box, brand new, of course. You know, like, they always had to ship it with this cardboard box, and it just kind of annoys me. You know, like, I would have understood that if the book was a bit bigger, but no, this book is just barely bigger than a Wii U game case, which tells me you could have made it just like, you could have just trimmed off a little bit, could have made it a little bit smaller, and then you could have fit it into a Wii U game case, and you could have put it in the area where you have the instruction manuals. And if they did that, I would have been much more likely to go through this book more often. Instead, it just kind of sits in this box, which this box just kind of sits on my shelf. And why am I going to open up this box all the time when the game case is just on my shelf like all my other game cases? This is just kind of a collector's piece now. And because this book came in a cardboard box that just kind of sits on my collectibles shelf, I guess, like, I don't read this book as much as, you know, I think Nintendo would have wanted me to. Which, I mean, it's good that, you know, if I'm not going to read it that much, it's good that it's, you know, like, filled with just random junk like this. But still, I'm mainly annoyed at the fact that this book came in a cardboard box when it really didn't need to. You could have slimmed it down a little bit. You could have cut a bunch of superfluous pages out of here. Like, you know, like, I don't really know what the point of this one is, other than, oh, yeah, cool little sketches and all that. But, you know, there's a bunch of filler in this book. And, you know, if you had to do anything, maybe cut a few pages from it, make it a little smaller, thinner, and, you know, make the dimensions a little smaller, and then you could have fit into the Wii U game case. It would have been much more likely that I would have, you know, like, whenever I want to play Mario Maker, I'd open it up and I'd see the book and I'd be more likely to play it. Instead, it always lays in this cardboard box, which a lot of people just straight up lose the cardboard box, and alongside it, the book. But, you know, I don't want to keep this box on my shelf, because one, it's not going to match with the rest of my Wii U games, and two, you know, it's bigger and it's a cardboard box, which means it, you know, it would get more damage that way. And then this has just a very specific thing. So this is Axiom Verge on the Wii U. This was one of the later releases, not the last specifically, but one of the last releases. The only limited run games released on Wii U. Limited run games does a lot of lower print runs of games that, you know, normally wouldn't have gotten physical releases, which is really cool. And Axiom Verge was announced to get a physical release on Wii U, but it just kept on getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and it was all but canceled. And limited run games came in and they were like, we're gonna do one Wii U game, and it's gonna be Axiom Verge. We're gonna fulfill that destiny of Axiom Verge getting a physical release on Wii U. So this came out around 2018, 2019 maybe. But yes, this release is really cool. You get Axiom Verge on the Wii U, soundtracks, and you know, an art book, poster. It's all great. Why is this piece of paper included? This just kind of annoys me because the people buying Axiom Verge on Wii U care about like just having the complete set, you know, having the full lineup here. And you know, limited run games knows this, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, you, but I just find it to be kind of bizarre that this is like this, you know, like ultra collector's edition thing. And it comes with this piece of paper that you know everybody that owns this game on Wii U is gonna want to preserve. They're gonna want to keep this all together. And it came with this piece of paper that's just like, why? Why? Just print this stuff on the back of the box or something. Instead, like, it's just this flimsy piece of paper that I always have to keep on the box because I'm a fucking idiot. And, you know, there's nothing holding it on. There was never anything holding it on. It didn't even have like a glue dot or something holding it on. You know, it's just always here. And I just find that really weird that, you know, they released this and they knew the only really collectors were gonna buy it, but they just happened to include this piece of paper that's, you know, integral to the entire release because it has the entire backing. You know, it has all of this information. It tells you all of this. You know, and if it's for like advertising the whole thing to make it more appealing, like this was only available online. So what's the point of including this as like a disposable element of the product when it's a bit integral and you're releasing this only really for collectors? Like, I feel like it's just kind of weird to have a disposable part of the product like this. I feel like the biggest creep talking about this because even while I was talking about Axiom Verge, I was like, man, this shit doesn't matter. But hey, that's a part of video game discussion, you know. Most of this stuff doesn't matter. It's just kind of fun to discuss because I like this kind of junk, and you know, I have my opinions on how video games should be packaged. And this is one where I can see both sides of the coin, where it's just like I can see why this one would be better, I can see why this one would be better. But overall, you know, these are you know, the Kirby's Dream Collection on Wii and the Super Mario All-Stars 25th Anniversary Edition on Wii. And these are both cool collector sets. These are great. You know, of course, like, this is much better overall because you get pretty much everything this one had in terms of, like, oh, you get a soundtrack CD and a book, and then the game included is way better because the game included here is literally just the Super Mario All-Stars SNES ROM on a Wii disc. But you do get, you know, a cool book and a soundtrack CD. That's all cool. But this one is much bigger, and it's because the packaging is much more premium. They even have a little flap, and then, you know, you open it up, and you have... The Wii disc is on my shelf, but you have an entire DVD case with the contents here. You have the CD, as in the extra contents. You have the CD, and then the booklet. And as you can see, these cases can hold pretty thick booklets, so there's not as much excuses on the Mario Maker side of things. But I do like that, you know, if you're gonna include the extras like that, I would have liked if potentially, you know, like the Mario All-Stars thing, they could have included an extra flap in the disc and had the CD there. And then maybe they could have fit the... I mean, it's kind of tricky because Wii games, Nintendo published Wii games from back in the day, just had the thickest damn manuals possible. Even a Super Nintendo ROM like this, the manual for this game was crazy big. So, yeah, I think this is probably the only way they really could have done it here. I understand that. Kirby slimmed things down, which I can appreciate to some extent, but the booklet is just kind of included... like the Mario Maker book is included, you know? Where it's just kind of like this. They made it a little bigger so then you couldn't fit it into a DVD case, which, you know, bigger book, that's all cool, but still, I'm kind of like, alright, you slimmed down the packaging, but this is kind of just in the box, which means I'm not as likely to go through it. This at least is a DVD case, which means I feel like you're more likely to pop this on the shelf. I frankly just kind of keep it in the cardboard box, so either way, I'm not consuming the information of either one of these booklets that much. To be fair, I don't really think Nintendo was really expecting anybody to read these more than once or twice. But, yeah, you know, I can see this where this is thinner, but, you know, the booklet's just kind of like, alright, you know, when are you going to read this? Because it's just kind of rotting in this cardboard box. This one's bigger, and at least you get a DVD case that you could put on your shelf, but frankly, I just kind of keep it in the box. So these I don't have as much of a problem with because, you know, it was something where this game already came with a pretty thick manual, so I don't really know where you were gonna put this, frankly. They could have been a little more resourceful. They could have, you know, found a way to do it, but I think this was probably the easiest way to just be like, all right, it just comes with a booklet, just throw it in a cardboard box. Mario Maker doesn't have an excuse because that game didn't even come with a manual. But a lot of those, you know, I can take it or leave it. You know, it's just kind of something where I just look at them and I'm just like, ah, come on, really? You were this close. You have this cool product here with a cool extra, and you put it in a packaging situation where I'm not going to enjoy the extra book and whatnot that you included. But overall, the ones that I went over, I can live with. And then there's Sega. Okay, alright, so they started to do this kind of dumb garbage, at least in terms of the games I've bought from them. I mainly saw this with Puyo Puyo Tetris. Love this game, absolutely adore it. And, you know, it was kind of cool, especially, this came out roughly a month after the Nintendo Switch launched. So to get a fun puzzle game like this, and to get it in a cool collector's box set like this, even though it might not be a collector's box, even though it says collectible, you know, this is just the launch edition. It's not like, oh, you pre-ordered this game so you get this cool box. No, I bought this at, like, Best Buy on the shelf, and it comes with little keychains. That's kind of neat, you know, I'm cool with that. You know, of course, just as a somebody who likes to save this kind of junk, you know, is something where, okay, cool, I get something else to put on my shelf. That's either a blessing or a curse. Either you're like, oh, cool, more packaging to save, or you're like, oh, great, more packaging I have to save. But this I can deal with. You know, you kind of have more of a purpose. Cool keychains. It's at the Switch's launch. It's cool to own more stuff for the cool new console that you bought. I'm cool with that. Sonic Mania Plus, on the other hand, so this was awesome to see them do, you know, a physical release for Sonic Mania. They originally did this dumb collector's edition, which, I mean, like, the collector's edition itself was cool, but it didn't come with a physical copy of the game, which at that point I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? But roughly a year later, they did Sonic Mania Plus, including some extra stuff, extra characters like Mighty and Ray, and the Encore mode, which was basically just recolors of a New Game Plus, if you will. It was pretty much a New Game Plus with recolored stages. That's all cool. I didn't really play a ton of Sonic Mania Plus because I already played Sonic Mania, but you know, it was a cool little addition, and it gave them an excuse to do a really cool physical release. Like, they went all out with this one. I mean, like, look at this cardboard sleeve, and it came with an art book and reversible cover, but the art book is just kind of hanging out here. It's too big to fit in the game case itself, which they don't even have like an instruction manual. So come on, guys. Now I kind of understand this because this game also released on the Nintendo Switch, which I'll get ahead of myself here. But for, you know, a game like this on the Nintendo Switch, you know, they kind of keep the general dimensions of like a PS4 or Xbox One case for these sleeves, but then they just you know, you can't really fit an art book in a Switch game case. Even if you shrunk it down significantly, you know, like, at that point, it's, you know, you're not going to get anything out of that. It's too small to enjoy. So I get it from the Switch side of things, but on PS4 and Xbox One, I would have liked it if they kind of went a little further, and they were just, you know, because it barely fits. You could have gotten this to fit. Come on, guys, because it's just kind of clumsily sitting in this cardboard sleeve, and I'm just like, really? Like, this is the best way you could have done this? Like this? Like, come on! But this, like the Switch versions of this goes too far for me. Because, you know, they wanted the art book, you know, you know, I understand. You don't want to print different dimensions of an art book just for a different console. You want to print them all the exact same, and then you just, you fit them in the sleeve. I get that, but man, it's just like, I'm putting Monkey Ball on my shelf like this. I'm not gonna put it on my shelf like this because it, that doesn't fit with all my Switch games. And on top of that, it's just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, leave it on my shelf like this? It's not even, like, it doesn't even stay in this form. Like, I'm just like, it's just gonna stay like this, like, the whole time. And it just annoys me because I want to enjoy and preserve this art book. But what am I supposed to do, Sega? Like, I bought this game on Switch, and it's just gonna be, like, laying like this. Like, if you put this in a box, maybe. Like, even the same with, like, Sonic Mania Plus, I just bitched about the Mario Maker situation where it's just like, oh, this book's always just gonna be in the box. But I would have frankly preferred that a little bit, because then it's just like, at least with the PS4 game, the art book's always here. So it's just like, whenever I want to play Sonic Mania, I always have to, push it out, and the art book slides out and all of that. It's just kind of annoying. With Monkey Ball, I kind of have the opposite problem, where this is just going to be sitting on my collectible shelf, and it just looks kind of dumb, because it's just kind of deformed like this, because, it's not going to stay perfectly rectangular. And I'm never going to enjoy this art book, because it's just going to be always on my collectible shelf in a weird shelf. But then we have this pile of garbage. What the hell is your problem? They gave this giant ass box for Sonic Colors Ultimate just to offload excess Sonic movie Baby Sonic keychains. Like, this was originally released for the Sonic movie in Japan as little, like, little handouts. Take a Baby Sonic keychain. So Sega brought this over here as a launch edition bonus for Sonic Colors Ultimate. But I'm just like, I didn't ask for this. This thing is huge, and there's no point to it. So you're willing to give Sonic Colors Ultimate a giant box just to include a keychain nobody asked for, when you're not willing to do that for Monkey Ball, so then you can at least put the art book in something instead of like this thing, or Sonic Mania Plus, so then I'm not dealing with this art book sliding around and having to keep this on my shelf and all of that. This is annoying! So yeah, frankly, I can deal with all of this. It's fine. I don't really care. But it's just something that I've noticed. At least has been a trend with Sega, where they do these kind of dumb packaging decisions. And I understand, in the case, this is probably because of the Nintendo Switch's game case is as small as it is, and they want to keep everything fairly consistent across all of the consoles. You don't want to print variations of that Monkey Ball or Sonic Mania Plus art book. Just print out, all the same dimensions. So then you can just, just put them in, and then, you'll deal with each game console when you deal with each game console. But, yeah, it's just kind of a slightly annoying thing. Obviously, it doesn't really bug me that much. Obviously. But hey, you look at the bright side, I may get annoyed as hell at all this, but at the very least, I'm not a Monkey Ball Banana Mania game box. God, this would suck.